Alright everyone, what is going on? It is Voodoo 51292 here. And tonight I'm going to be doing sort of a different video. I'm going to be doing an update on the PC that I built 3 months ago in May of this year, 2014. I'm going to give you sort of a look at the system like you've never seen it. The system is running, as you can probably tell by the fans turning, and the side panel is off, and I'm going to give you guys a look in the system at all my components, how they're mounted, how they look when they're running, and give you sort of an in the case detailed tour of the computer with all my components installed. Now this is actually a reshoot video. I actually already did this video just a minute ago. It took me about 20 minutes to film the video, and I was going to upload it to YouTube until I found out that at the last minute that I had a piece of dog hair over the lens of my camera the entire video, and it was extremely distracting, and I said I can't upload the video like this with this white streak going across the video the whole time, so I'm going to reshoot it. It sucks, but you know, again, I can't upload a video of that quality, so we're going to do it again, alright? And we're going to start off sort of at the bottom of the case, or bottom of the computer, whatever you want to say, with the power supply. As you can see, this is the Corsair CX750M power supply. This is the power supply I wound up getting after the power supply I had originally ordered with this system was DOA. It was dead on arrival. I hooked the whole system up, plugged the power supply in, and when I hit the power button to boot the computer, nothing happened. Turns out that the power supply was DOA. It was originally an EVGA 500 watt power supply, which I was nervous about anyway, even before I built it, because I thought that I went a little low on the wattage. Turns out it was broken, so I was able to go to Best Buy and pick up this power supply, which is much better, and it's a nice 750 watt power supply, and this is the one that now is, you know, powering my system. Down here on the floor of the case, you see a 120 millimeter fan. This is a fan that I actually installed today. It did not come with the case. I ordered it extra, and to be honest, the computer really doesn't need this fan to keep it cool. The computer ran nice and cool with, you know, for months without this fan, but I said I got a place there, and I'd like to add more of the red like light throughout the case, because the back fan, which I will show you, has red LEDs, but it's kind of blocked by my gigantic CPU cooler, and so I figured putting a fan down here would light more of the case up, and actually, you know, it would help with better cooling, although it doesn't need it. Unfortunately, the red LEDs in this thing are kind of weak. You might be able to tell, but they're not very powerful, and they really don't provide a lot of light to the case. But I put the fan in anyway. Now, the way it's oriented currently, what it's doing is it's taking air from inside of the case and it's exhausting it out the bottom of the case. So the idea is to take hot air from inside the case and exhaust it out the bottom to try to further cool the system. Now this is not the way I originally wanted to install it. I wanted to install it flipped over, and if you flip the fan over, then what it would do is take cold air from outside of the case and blow it into the case, sort of right onto my video card and everything. Problem is, as I mounted it that way originally, the red LEDs were completely hidden that way. So they're weak now, but if they were the other way, they would have been completely even not visible. So I said, well, we'll flip it over. It will still help because it'll exhaust hot air. It's not the way I would have done it, but at least the red LEDs will light up something. And it does, but it's just very faint. So it does add some noise to the system. This fan is not exactly quiet. It was kind of a cheap fan. It's a Cooler Master Sickle Flow, and it's there for now. I don't know if it's permanently going to stay there. If the noise really bugs me, I might take it out, or I might move it to the front of the computer, because there's a place there to mount another drive, and I could have red LEDs showing through the front of my case, but we'll just have to see. It's there for now. We'll see later if I want to move it, but that's how it is. Back up in here, you can see that little card right there is my Wi-Fi card. You can see the audio boost on the motherboard that's lit up. It came that way. Down here you can see some power connectors plugged in. This multicolored pin right there is actually the HD audio plug, which hooks up my front port headphone and microphone jack. So that's why, you know, that's what that plug is. This little plug right there is actually the fan header from that 120 millimeter fan that's plugged into my motherboard. So the motherboard regulates the speed of this fan. Back there, you can see these multicolored wires are my front port switches. So that hooks up my power LED, my reset switch, my power switch, hard drive activity light. That's all hooked up back there. And there's a little speaker right there you can see that came with the case that makes a noise when you power on the system. Back up in there, this multicolored plug you see right there is a USB 2.0 header, and that's hooking up one of the another addition I made to the computer today, which I will show you. And then right next to it is another USB 2.0 plug that controls the front two USB ports, 2.0 ports on the front of the case. Now back here you can see the wiring gets to be sort of a mess, and unfortunately, you know, as I've built with this case and gone in and upgraded and done some things with the case over the months, I really kind of understood that I probably should have bought a more expensive case. While I really like the way the case looks, I think it looks really cool, this was only a $50 case, and working with it I understand why, and it shows. This is the first of several reasons. What you're seeing is there's nothing I can do about it, alright? This is not just a bad cable management job. The fact of it is that that whole area back there is just one gigantic cutout in the motherboard tray that allows you to run cables and stuff behind it. You can see there's actually some cables wire tied right there that weren't before. I did that so that they wouldn't get in the way of this fan. On more expensive cases, down in this area there would be individual wiring holes. It wouldn't be one gigantic cutout. It would be individual holes, and a little bit more expensive cases would actually have them nicely covered with rubber. They'd be rubber grommeting holes that you can run cables in, and so you would never see this mess. All this mess would be hidden behind the motherboard tray. But on this cheap case, all they did was just give you a gigantic cutout hole, and unfortunately that means you see all these cables. If these cables weren't in the way, you'd be looking right at the other side of the back panel. So there is literally nowhere I can hide these cables. They just have to look that way, and it's unfortunate, but it's a result of having a cheaper case. Alright. As we move up, this is my video card. This is again the it's a Gigabyte branded NVIDIA GeForce GTX 760. It does have an aftermarket cooler on it. I didn't put it on there. This model came with it already attached. It's called the WindForce cooler. This is something that that Gigabyte does on their offers, I should say, on their cards. If we try to get the camera up under it, which might be a hard shot, you can see it says WindForce there. It's got two fans that are blowing onto the video card. The stock coolers for these things are just these big metal pieces, and they have sort of like a blow dryer that blows, except obviously it's not hot air, it's cold air, but it blows air onto the video card to cool it, and it gets very loud. And so this model came with an aftermarket cooler and heatsink that cools it better and is basically silent. Alright, now I actually flipped the order of the video card and the Wi-Fi card. Previous to today, this video card was actually in a slot lower than what it is right now. But I moved it up here because I've watched many PC builds and parts videos and all on YouTube, and everybody says, and it's always showed, that when you have one card, you should put it in the topmost slot, because that really helps with the cooling of it. It gives it plenty of room to breathe, and every system I've seen that has one card has always been in the top slot. Now, the reason it wasn't there originally is another issue that I will get to and address, but basically my CPU power cable was run right under this cooler and up to its plug, and it was in the way. And I fixed that problem clearly, but that was the reason why before. And this Wi-Fi card was actually, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a PCI times 1 slot. Yeah, if I zoom in, you can see it right there. That's where my Wi-Fi card used to be, but I had to move it clearly when I moved the video card up, and I put the Wi-Fi card down here. So that's the video card. It's plugged in there with the power. the PCI Express power. It's two 6-pin plugs for power. Again, these cables look pretty ugly, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it, okay? As we move up, first thing you can see is the 120 millimeter fan in the back of the case. This did come with the case, and the LEDs on this are nice and bright. This is actually on silent mode. If I turn the fan controller to turbo, you'll see those lights really light up bright and make it look cool. The system gets a lot louder. That doesn't affect the LEDs on the bottom because, again, that's hooked to the motherboard, not the fan controller. Back in there you can see some heat sinks. This is the heat sinks on the motherboard, I should say. This is my Hyper 212 Evo cooler from Cooler Master. Extremely popular and common aftermarket cooler. About 30 bucks. As you can see, it is massive, and it is just short enough to where I can put the panel on. The side panel. If it was any longer by even like a few millimeters, it wouldn't fit in the case. I wouldn't be able to put the side panel on, but it does fit. But you can see, maybe if I film like this, you can sort of see the depth on it. That's the CPU way back there that it's cooling. This thing is a beast, but it's there. Right there, those two red sticks are my RAM. It's two sticks of two 4 GB sticks of DDR3 1600 memory, so for a total of 8. It's G.Skill Ripjaws. Up here you can see this is my CPU power cable, and this is another big flaw with this case. So, as you've seen, if you've seen this case with the side panel on, it has a gigantic case window. It's basically almost the whole panel is a window. But, for some reason, they didn't give you a hole in the back of the motherboard tray. On pretty much every case I've ever seen, even other cheap cases, there's a hole, even cases without a case window. There's a hole usually back up here in the left hand corner of the motherboard tray, and you can run your CPU power cable behind the motherboard tray, out the hole in the top, and plug it in. That's the plug right there. I'll try to get you a shot of that. That's where it plugs in, and usually you can run it out of a hole in the top left and plug it right in there, and you never see it. It's completely out of your way. This case doesn't give you a hole. So let me get this straight. You put a gigantic plexiglass case window on it, so clearly you want everybody to look in and see the components, but then you make it necessary for the CPU power cable to be run in the front of the motherboard and look hideous because you don't give us a hole in the back corner. Makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know why they did that. Huge oversight in my opinion. You can't give a gigantic case window and then make it mandatory to run a power cable in front of the motherboard. It's just stupid. And previously, I had that cable running, like I mentioned, underneath this cooler up to the plug. Well, when I moved the video card, I had to find a new way to do it. And I managed to. I actually, as you can see now, have it running above the cooler. It's not the best location because I am worried that, you know, it's awful close to this fan on the Hyper 212 Evo, but there's really nowhere else to run the cable. There's literally nowhere else to run it. It doesn't fit anymore between here and there, and it would be worse there if it was laying on top of the video card or whatever, which gets extremely hot. There's nowhere else to run it. So that's where it's going to have to run. Actually, it looks better because when you put the side panel on, actually the window doesn't show that part, so you can't see it. Before you could clearly see it running below this cooler, but you can't see it anymore. So it actually looks cleaner in the case, but that's where it's going to have to stay because I don't have a hole to run it behind the board. Stupid. I don't know what they were thinking. Whatever. So that's another problem I have with the case. Over here you can see the big 24-pin motherboard power connector, the main power connector. Back there, that blue plug is the USB 3.0, which activates the front port, the front USB 3.0 on the front of the case. Back here, kind of hidden behind the video card, back there is my SATA bay, where you plug in all your data cables for your hard drives and your optical drive. There's 6 of them in there. They're all 6 gigabit per second because this motherboard is the Intel Z87 chipset. So all the SATA is 6 gigabits a second. I have 5 of the 6 plugged in because I've got 3 hard drives, I've got an optical drive, and I've got an external SATA plug that I'll show you later that's plugged in. I don't use it, but it's plugged in case I ever do want to use it. So that's that right there. You can see the MSI Dragon heatsink on the motherboard. Looks pretty cool. And if we go over here, well, first of all, let me show you back here. That's the back of my optical drive. You can see there's the SATA power and data plugged in. Here's my hard drive bay. Right here is my solid state drive. This is the Samsung 840 EVO 250 gigabyte solid state drive. These are my two mechanical drives. This top one is the original drive that I built, or that I bought with the rest of my components. It's a Western Digital Caviar Blue. It's 1 terabyte, 7200 RPM. And, you know, this is the original drive that I bought that had my operating system on it. Then I upgraded to the SSD for the operating system. This bottom one is also a 1 terabyte drive. It's a Seagate Barracuda. I think this one is also 7200 RPM. I'm not too sure. I got this because my dad recently moved offices, and he was getting rid of all of the old computers in his office. He wasn't taking them to his new office. So he wanted me to go in and pull all the hard drives out of the machine so that we could destroy them. And he said, you know, if there's anything in there that you want, just take it, because I don't want it. Well, most of the hard drives were trash. A lot of them were actually IDE, you know, older style hard drives that I had no use for, or small capacities. But this was out of the newest system that he had, and it was a 1 terabyte, perfectly good 1 terabyte Seagate Barracuda SATA drive that he was just going to destroy and get rid of. So I took it, wiped it clean, and it's in my system now. So I've got 2 terabytes of mechanical space to put videos and stuff on, and then of course the solid state drive for my operating system and games. Any games I can fit in there. Alright. Right here, I forgot to mention, these things are a toolless design for the case. So basically you're supposed to be able to put stuff in there, like up here's my optical drive, and then you can put this little tool on. I might be able to take it off and actually show you how it works. There you go. See how the screw holes there on the optical drive line up with the screw holes there? And this thing has pins on it on either end. Those go in the holes. They line up in the holes, and then you just, if I can do this without breaking it, there you go. You just turn this little knob and it locks the drive into place without any screws. This right here is actually the other expansion, which is a memory card reader that I put in the case today. And the memory card reader is only 3.5 inches, and you need to put it in a 5 1/4 inch adapter so that you can actually put it in the front of the case. And the adapter, you can see the holes do line up, but when I went to put this toolless design in it, it didn't fit right. It didn't lock it down into place for whatever reason. So, you know, it was just sliding all over. So instead of that, I just the adapter came with screws, and so I just went ahead and screwed it in because this thing wasn't holding it in. But anyway, that's the deal. I'll show you the back of the case real quick before, or the back of the computer now. It's not just a case. Before we look at the front. So here's the back, and you can see that's the fan spinning, obviously. This is another complaint I have about the case. You can see I have an empty PCI port here. Reason for that is, again, because it's a cheap case, these covers, I've only got 2 of them left, one here and one down here. These are actually not reusable. They are disposable. You have to pop them out. You have to actually just, you know, I guess pop them out's the right word. You have to tear them out and throw them away. You can't reuse them. And that really sucks, and it's really stupid, because here's the deal. These 2 slots, the one that my wireless card is in right now, and this empty one is where my video card was. It took up these 2 slots. Well, when I moved it, it now takes up these 2 top slots, as you can see. This Wi-Fi card only takes up 1 slot, and I've got one open, but there's nothing I can do about it. I can't recover it because the drive bay covers are non-reusable. Really stupid. Again, cheap case though. That was my fault for buying a cheap case. You can see this is the Wi-Fi card antennas. I got 3 of them. I don't really need Wi-Fi anymore because I use Ethernet. I'll show you how I'm able to get Ethernet in an upstairs bedroom in a minute. This is the back of the motherboard. I've got my keyboard and mouse pass-through plugged in, USB, and the Ethernet, which you can see is working. Again, the graphics card, I've got HDMI plugged in. It also supports DisplayPort and 2 DVIs. My second monitor, when I have dual monitor setup, is DVI. So that's the back of the case. And then when we look at the front, which I'll have to get up and I'll have to move the light over so you can actually better see the front of the case. This is the front, and you can see I've got two USB 2.0s and a USB 3.0. I've got a microphone and headphone jack in the front. On top we've got the fan controller, and up here, if you can see that, try to not blind you with the LED, with the power light, but anyway, up there, this is my external SATA port, which is all plugged in. So if I ever wanted to buy like just a bare hard drive like I have installed in the case, I could actually plug it in up here. I wouldn't need to buy an external drive with an enclosure that costs more money. I could plug it in up here as a backup drive or whatever. I don't have one right now, but I might in the future. So it's all hooked up. You know, all I would have to do is buy a drive and plug it right in. You can see this is the DVD writer that I did get originally with the build. This is the SD card reader. Well, it's not just SD. It's actually a 74-in-1 card reader, if you can believe it. It reads 74 different cards. I have one kind of card, but you never know what's going to happen in the future. But anyway, I bought this because this computer is my hub for my channel. I put all my videos on it because I have 2 terabytes of space. But especially now that I film in 1080p, it takes so long. If I just plug the camera in through USB, it takes so long to transfer the videos. So I said, you know, this was relatively cheap. This memory card reader was like $6, and I said, man, for $6, I can get something I can easily install that will allow me to just plug an SD card right into it, and it makes the transfers much faster. And actually, it gives me an extra USB 2.0 port. So I now have 4 total USB ports on the front of my case, which is really nice. And then I have another slot where I can put another 5.25-inch drive or whatever. I can't imagine what I'd put in there right now, but again, you never know what the future holds. So that's kind of a look at the case. A quick look at how I'm able to get Ethernet up here. I'll show you. This is it. This is a little box. It's actually called a Powerline Network. It's from TP-Link, and I've talked about it before in a video. But what it does is when you buy it, it comes in a pack of 2 of these little boxes, and you plug one of the boxes down in the wall by your modem, and you plug the Ethernet from your modem into the first box, and then you bring the second box and plug it wherever you want Ethernet, which in my case is my room. You plug it into the wall here, and you plug Ethernet into that and then into your computer, and the 2 boxes wirelessly link up, and it uses your house's electrical cabling. It basically uses it like an Ethernet. And so when you use this system, you basically get your internet speed as if you were plugged directly into the modem. And it's just amazing. I think the whole kit cost me $40, and that's... Alright, I'm sorry about that, guys. My camera randomly stopped recording. I guess it reached its time limit. But anyway, yeah, so for $40, basically I got this system, and I mean, I think it's tremendous. It runs great, and I get great Ethernet speeds with this TP-Link power line. So definitely an option I would consider if I were you, in an upstairs bedroom or whatever, and your Wi-Fi sucks. Pick up one of these things. It's cheap and it works really, really well. So, all right, guys, that's gonna do it for my detailed PC tour and update. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really love this thing. Her name is the Black Widow, by the way. In case you were wondering, I did come up with a name for the computer, and if you're wondering why it's called the Black Widow, well, let me put the light back on it. Go Google pictures of a Black Widow spider, and then you'll understand. And that matched with my black and red keyboard and mouse really makes it a great combo. So this build is the Black Widow. Again, you know, I definitely would not use this case again if I had to build Not because I don't think it looks good, because I really do think it looks cool, but just it's cheap and building in it is a pain. And from a builder's point of view, I would not pick this particular case again. So just a word of advice, you know, make your own decisions, but that's just what I think of it. But no, like I said, I love this computer. I've had it for 3 months now, built it back in May, and it does everything I could ever want it to do currently. But the good news is that it has massive potential for upgrading. You know, I can, especially having a 750 watt power supply, I can upgrade the video card. I could run 2 video cards. I could easily change out my i5 for an i7 and not change another thing. You know, if I wanted to get the i7 for better video editing and streaming, I could do that. Hell, even if I wanted to, you know, I'm talking so much about the case, I could, you know, buy another case. I could buy a better, maybe a Corsair case or a Fractal Design case or an NZXT Phantom, and I could just take all of these parts, including, hell, why not even this fan, you know, this red LED fan right here in the back that came with the case. It also came with a fan in the front. It's not LED, but it has a fan there. You know, I assume, you know, any other case I buy would already come with a fan in the front and back, but I can use these fans and all these components and build basically the exact same computer, just move it into a new case. You know, that could be something that happens later down the road. Trust me, it's not going to happen anytime soon. But, you know, just thinking for, you know, down the road. But anyway, I can honestly say I will never in my life buy another pre-built desktop again. I will always build my own. I'll keep up with the technology as best as I can on my research, and always build new computers. I love building them. It's a lot of fun for me. I really do enjoy it. I look forward to working on my computer. It's mine. It's my own custom computer, you know. It fits me, and I can individually pick the parts I want. I do the maintenance on it. I know the computer inside and out. I can upgrade it if I want. I can take things out if I want. And you really do get screwed over and ripped off by Dell and HP and these other Compaq. I guess they're still making computers, but all these computers that are pre-built, you just overpay for them. And whenever you have a problem, you have to call their freaking technical support, which is always outsourced in India or something. And, you know, they take up 20 minutes of your time asking you to turn the computer on and off again, or check to make sure it's plugged into the wall, you know. Really stupid stuff, and you don't have to deal with that. When you build your own computer, if you have a problem with whatever component, you deal directly with the manufacturer of that component, which is often in America. And it's just great. So I will always be building my own computers. I strongly recommend for everybody to build their own. It's very easy to learn. I recommend Kerry Holzman's channel on YouTube. He's the best PC builder on the internet. He's how I learned how to build my computer. Check his channel out if you're interested. Best place to learn how to build a PC. And yeah, I love it. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this build, or this update and tour video, seeing the computer in action and seeing how everything's mounted in the case. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Voodoo51292, and I will see you guys later. Bye for now.